Trent Hart back here on Anahuac Sports Live in the Title Services Incorporated pregame show. I'm joined by the...
Sorry about that, folks. Clicked on the wrong tab, but welcome to Tarkington ISD. I'm Trent Hart, and we would very much like to appreciate everybody joining us there on YouTube, right here on Anahuac Sports Live, to bring you tonight's Friday Night Lights matchup of the 1-2 Anahuac Panthers versus the 2-1 Tarkington Longhorns. And Tarkington and Anahuac have met each other many, many times over the past few years, since 2013, every single season. But with the Anahuac Panthers having the upper hand, 4-2 against the Longhorns in those matchups. Last year, the Longhorns were the ones that came on top, though, as that score was 53-28, as they were able to get the best of the Panthers in the preseason play. And out of all those matchups since 2003, they've all been in the preseason and not in district, but that is not the case for 2020, as Tarkington and Anahuac are in the same district coming into this 2020 season. I'm sure both teams and players and coaches know that this is more on the line tonight, as it is going into district play for both teams. And you'll hear a little bit later from head coach Greg Neese of the Anahuac Panthers, as I was able to catch up with him for a short interview, and unfortunately I was unable to catch up with Coach Zach Bass of the Tarkington Longhorns, as we were having quite a few technical difficulties getting set up and ready to go for this stream. And speaking of which, if the stream does drop out by chance, be looking for the link to pop back up again. And the way that you could be able to get notified is to hit that subscribe button on YouTube and hit that notification bell as well, and you will get notified immediately if we are able to come back up with the stream. With that said, we're going to take a short break from a word from our sponsors, but we will be back. Don't go anywhere. This is Anahuac Sports Live. And welcome back to the Title Services pregame show. I'm Trent Hart, and this is Anahuac Sports Live. We appreciate everybody tuning in and watching with us this evening, and we want to let everybody know that we are running on a Wi-Fi hotspot, and there might be a few interruptions. And if there is, be sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell. If we drop out, then you'll be notified as soon as we come back up. But otherwise, we got a few things to go over here in the pregame show before things get kicked off, and want to tell everybody about last week as Tarkington won their preseason game, their last preseason game against Cold Spring Oldhurst, 21-14. And Anahuac also got a huge overtime win on the road against Bridge City, 28-21. And as you'll hear from the interview here in just a minute from Coach Neese, he elaborates on that game against Bridge City and goes into a little bit more detail about what he saw on that game and on that win that was needed for these Panthers coming into district play. A little bit of stats from last week from both teams. And we'll start with the Tarkington Longhorns first as they played Cold Spring Oakhurst. And I got a little bit of total plays, about 65 plays, 318 yards, 159 through the air and 159 on the ground. So it was pretty balanced throughout the game for Tarkington. And as Coach Neese touches on also here in a little bit, they got a quarterback that is committed already who is I think he's playing baseball, and he is committed to play for Army for baseball. And he said that he is an animal on the field, and from the highlights I saw earlier this week, it is nothing short of just that. On the Anahuac side against Bridge City, total plays 66 from scrimmage, 344 yards, 111 through the air, and 233 rushing yards. And that was definitely improvement from what they had against Mart the week prior. But where we saw the best improvement was the turnovers, as Anahuac had about 6 turnovers in that Mart game and cut that in half last week to 3. But the penalties are still there, as Anahuac had 7 penalties for 25 yards. And as it went into the final moments of the game against Bridge City last week, Bridge City was able to come back on a couple of big penalties there in the fourth quarter, but Anahuac was able to hold on, and the kids dug deep and brought home the W. Individually, Landon Corbett last week was 5 of 8, 111 yards and a touchdown. And leading the rushing attack for the Panthers was Christian Sanchez, 20 attempts, 138 yards, 2 touchdowns. His longest of the night was a 23-yarder. And he was definitely a man on a mission last week, and we'll see what he does here tonight, as the offensive line for the Panthers is just getting better and better each week. Other than that, we're going to take another short break, but when we come back, we're going to have that interview with Coach Greg Neese. Don't go anywhere. And like I said earlier, if we have a dropout, please stay tuned and click that notification bell so you'll know that when we're back up and live again. Again, this is Trent Hart, and thank you for joining us on Anahuac Sports Live.
Trent Hart back here on Anahuac Sports Live in the Title Services Incorporated pregame show. I'm joined by the Panther head coach Greg Neese once again here. And coach, your football team is coming off a great overtime win on the road last week against Bridge City. And I was watching that game. It certainly did not lack in excitement. What can you tell us about some of the things you saw on the sideline and specifically in the fourth quarter going into that overtime?
Well, I thought throughout the game that our offense kind of came to life and we're figuring out who, the pieces of the puzzle and where all the pieces go as far as that running back and wide receiver and the type of play that we should be having with our offensive line, because we got a big offensive line. And so we've kind of become like a gap scheme where we still always going to run the scat, but we're really focusing on the double G and the GT, the old guard and tackle pull. So I was very excited to see that. And then, we took control with a 21-7 lead. And we had one drive right after halftime that we took the football and we drove down and took the lead at 14-7. And it was one of our drives that we like to have where we mixed up the run and tempo, and then all of a sudden we threw a fade over their head and had a touchdown. So we're up 21-7 with about 4 minutes left. It looked pretty good, but then, it's never over till it's over. That's what Yogi Berra says. So we did about everything we could to try to give them a chance to win the game, and they ended up tying it with less than a minute left, and that was kind of unsettling right there. But our kids had some resolve in the overtime, and we scored in 3 plays. Almost scored in the first play. We ran a screen in the very first play, and it was wide open. And they said we trapped it off the ground, but I think he had his hands underneath it. But then we didn't let that bother us. Took 2 more plays and scored, and our defense played great. And I'm very excited about our defense where they're at right now.
Well, speaking of that offensive line, 344 total yards of offense last week, and Corbett, 5 of 8, 111 yards and 1 touchdown, but an even much better effort on the ground with 233 yards rushing the football with Christian Sanchez leading the way, 20 carries, 138 yards and 2 touchdowns. Coach, you have to be pleased with the effort of that offensive line, and you talked about it just a while ago, opening those holes up for your running game and that running back committee to control the clock and ultimately come up with a win.
Right. Coach Dale is our offensive line coach, and he's done a great job with our offensive line, and it's a special unit. And sometimes you get units of, offensive line guys, and some of them get along, some of them don't. But this group, the starters, even the backups, it's one big family. And, it's like Coach Dale's the mother hen, and that's all his little chicks right there, and they all follow him, and he can get on to them and drive them in practice, but he also takes time to talk to them and love on them and stuff, and they play really hard for him, and that's a really, really big strength of ours, and they're not even as good as they can be, so we're excited about that. And Christian Sanchez, he's a kid that was a kicker last year, played a little bit of receiver and played a little bit of DB, but he's a kid that didn't play running back last year. Really, all of those running backs we have, they did not play. 2 of them didn't even play football, and Tinsley and Bailey did not even play football last year, and then you got Christian was a kicker. So that's why it's kind of taking a little bit of time for us to kind of get in sync, but I think we're really getting there.
Well, you're definitely seeing an improvement with them every single week, Coach, and you talked a little bit about it earlier also, but what are some of the things that you felt like y'all improved and took a little step on last week, and what did y'all focus on this past week in practice to prepare for this district opener against Tarkington?
Well, we did fumble the ball a couple of times, which is 2 times too many. But the previous game we had around 6. So we worked on ball security and taking care of the football with our running backs and receivers, and did a lot of gauntlet drill where you run through the lines and the kids are trying to strip it out, and just an old time drill that's really, really good. Fundamentally for ball security, and that's we got really a lot better last week, and hopefully this week also. So we just feel really, really good about our offense right now, and I love the way our defense swarms the ball. Our defense, I'm really excited about our defense and anxious to see what they do tonight.
Speaking of that defense, Tarkington is, from what we saw last night, is a shotgun offense, and that's what they run. What are some of the things that y'all are going to have to do defensively tonight to contain that offense?
Well, we got to be patient. We got to let them. They're going to complete some passes because their quarterback is a stud. He is really, really good. He was started for them last year. He's going to West Point to play baseball, so that tells a little bit about the kid and his character. Just going to West Point, then good enough to play baseball for Army. So he's really special, and what he does, he gets the ball out of his hand really quick. I mean, you can rush him, you can blitz him, but he can get it out quicker than you take a step. So you got to be patient right there. They're going to complete some balls underneath. We got to tackle. Can't give up the big deep ball, so hopefully we're going to keep everything in front. And our pass rush is pretty good. I think that's an advantage for us. I think there's a few of their offensive linemen that are going to have a tough time blocking our guys, especially when we start moving them around with tie fam, and bringing guys off the edge and through different gaps. So if we can pressure the quarterback and maybe make him throw one up, and we can be there to pick one off, I think that'll be a huge step for us tonight and getting a victory.
Well, definitely a tough district schedule coming up, and you just said it, is containing that West Point committed quarterback is going to be one of the keys to bringing home that win. Or is there anything else that you want to elaborate on as what else that y'all are going to have to do to bring home that W?
Well, I mean, the kicking game, another thing we got better at last week was our kicking game. Making our extra points, our kickoff coverage was excellent for the most part. We got a lot of guys. We suited up about 33 guys. We're really about 34 because we're suiting up 2 more tonight. Bringing up a little freshman, Kenneth Moore. He's probably not ready to play yet, but he really is ready to play because, physically he can do it. He'll be playing some DB, covering some guys. He's also taking some snaps at quarterback, just in case. He also has the best hands on the team as far as catching the football. And so he's a little undersized, but he can run. So we're excited about giving him an opportunity. I know he's a little starry-eyed right now, but we wouldn't pull him up if we didn't think he could contribute some way, somehow. But, like I said, our kicking team is our special teams is really getting a lot better. Punt team with Christian, he flipped the field a couple times with some long punts. I think he had a 60-yarder last week. So had good snaps on the deep snaps to him. And a couple weeks ago we snapped it over the punter's head. So getting better right there and making progress.
Well, that 60-yard punt was definitely impressive. And, Coach, we'd like to thank you again for taking the time with us before kickoff, and best of luck to you and the Anahuac Panthers tonight.
All right. Thank you, Trent. Appreciate you having us.
That was head coach of the Anahuac Panthers, Greg Neese, and we'll be back for the coin toss and the national anthem right after this on Anahuac Sports Live.
And Trent Hart back here with the Anahuac Sports Live pregame show brought to you by Title Services. And I just want to remind everybody that if the stream drops, please hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell to let you know when the stream will come back up, because I'm getting some warnings on my computer here, and there's a chance that it could drop it at any minute. And we sure do apologize for all of those technical difficulties, but we'll be trying to get that stream back up to you as quickly as possible. But now we're going to go down to the field for the coin flip. Bear with me for a second, folks, as I try to get the image up. That's not it, but you can see me well, can't you?
Trent Hart back here on Anahuac Sports Live in the Title Services.
Sorry about that. I told you we were having technical difficulties, folks, and we'll try to get back to the field as quickly as possible. I tell you what, folks, since we're having so much trouble, we're going to flip over our stream, and the kickoff is about to happen, we're going to flip over our stream to Facebook. So please go on to Facebook right now and be looking for the live stream on Anahuac Sports Live Facebook page. We will come back as soon as we can, but we're going to drop YouTube because we're having so much trouble with the service. But be sure to go over to Facebook right now as the Tarkington Longhorns are set to kick off to the Anahuac Panthers as we speak. And I'll call this first series while we get set up for Facebook. Kick is short and it goes up, and we're going to have good field position as the Anahuac Panthers are able to return it to their own 40-yard line. And that's where they'll set up shop to begin this football game, ladies and gentlemen. And as like I said, go over to Facebook now, and we will be back over there here shortly.